Welcome everybody. Here we're going to talk a little bit about how to make more money as a freight broker and or a freight agent. This is a problem that people start to have once they are established as an agent or a broker and they're just not seeing the returns that they want to see for their work. We're really just going to make sure that you have all of the parts that you need to be making money, a sufficient amount of money as a broker or an agent. So first of all, you're going to need an adequate amount of freight. That really shouldn't say adequate, it should say surplus. And so we're going to discuss finding more freight than you can move. And then we're also going to get into actually moving that freight, having all of the carrying capacity you need to meet the needs of your customers. And then we're going to talk about having a little bit of nerve, boldness, fearlessness, guts, whatever you want to call it. Don't sweat it at this point. If you are missing any of the components above, that's why you're here. So first of all, let's talk about finding more freight and building your client base. Find shippers and more available freight using industrial search engines. For example, Thomasnet or McRae's Blue Book. I mean, I just gave you a million shippers right there. They're both free resources. Just Google those two names. Again, that's Thomasnet and McRae's Blue Book. But great, now you have a whole bunch of leads to call. You're really going to have to hone your closing skills in order to use them. You're going to have to really become comfortable cold calling and understand that rejection is just a part of the deal. And I know some people are going to be really nasty to you guys, but I do promise not everyone's going to say no to you. Once somebody doesn't say no to you and you are on their radar, call and email them daily, weekly, twice a week, whatever seems like an adequate amount in comparison to how much freight they're actually moving. It says here, be set up if you can be, and the reason for that is if you are already set up with somebody and you decide that you want to move a load for them, at that point in time, when you are going to inevitably be in a little bit of a hurry, you're not going to have to rush and go through the whole process of getting set up with them right then. It becomes really easy when all they have to do is sign and send you a rate confirmation, and it also removes a lot of hesitation at that point in time when they are deciding whether or not they want to work with you. A little bit more on finding more freight and building your client base. Make sure that you're pre-qualifying customers, and that goes into this next point here. Weed cheap freight out of your life. If you're working with a transportation manager that's really nice to you, but they're not making any money, I'm sorry, just cut them loose. They're not valuable to you if they're not going to make you money. That's the entire point of brokerage. Being successful here is building relationships. Understand that the people that you are working with are exactly that. They're just people. Ask them about other aspects of their life, whether it's sports, weather. Just make conversation at appropriate times and really work on establishing trust. And the way that you are going to establish trust is by not missing loads. This is not the hardest job in the world, guys. Success for you is really just going to come with performance, and that performance inevitably is your ability to keep your customer and really keep your customer happy. Now, if a shipper decides to put you on their first load and you mess up big time, chances are slim that they're ever going to use you again. However, if everything is smooth and there are no errors, they trust you a little bit more, so they're more likely to give you more freight. And as they give you more freight and more freight and more freight and you move it without any issues, they're really going to become to trust you. And over that amount of time is when that relationship is going to be built between the two of you. Those are some of the things that you really need to be aware of when it comes to finding freight and having a surplus of freight available to give to your carrying capacity. Now, in order to perform for your customer, you're obviously going to need carrying capacity. A tip that I have, work with carriers directly to help keep them rolling and really become an important part of their day. What I mean by that is a lot of agents and brokers I see just go through a list of shippers and try to meet all of their needs. But what you can do in addition to this is work directly with carriers, find out where their trucks are and where they're looking to go, and find them loads to keep them moving on the road and make them some money. It's really going to become highly effective for you over a little bit of time because you are inevitably going to become an important part of their day. And while you are searching for freight for them, you will also find a genuine amount of freight for yourself. It's important that you know where trucks are and you know where trucks aren't. Use DAT Trendlines and Internet Truck Stop. Those two come highly recommended. DAT Trendlines for prices and Internet Truck Stop PinTac for finding out where carrying capacity is and where it simply isn't. You're going to have to know how to book trucks and close with dispatchers, really negotiate. And a good way to go about doing this is when you call a carrier, a dispatcher is going to pick up the phone and you're going to tell them, "Hi, I'm calling on your truck in whatever city," and then just have it even written down in front of you in the order that you want to go through your, not, I guess it's not a pitch, but through your informative spiel. And that can simply go in the order of tell them where it's picking up and where it's delivering, tell them how many miles it is, then how much the load weighs, what the commodity is, are there any special equipment requirements, what time can it pick up, what time can it deliver, and how much are you looking to pay. And then at that point, the only thing that you two have to work out is really the rate, because everything else is already on the table. Having a solid carrying capacity and following of carriers really is dependent on the relationship that you can build with them. I mean, you just have to be trustworthy in their eyes. So pay your bills on time and don't stiff on accessorial charges. Pay your detention. And the fastest way to build that trustworthy reputation with carriers, which there's no beating, is just keep in mind that your word is your bond. Don't go against what you say. That's really the only thing that you have in this industry if you're going to be doing a lot of it over the phone. Alright, so first part, you have enough freight to keep a bunch of people loaded. Second part, you have enough carrying capacity to move all of your customers' freight. And the last part is having some nerve, boldness, fearlessness, guts, whatever you want to call it. It's quite common that agents and brokers lose a lot of freight to competing brokers and carriers as well. Because what happens is they will call for the load, get all the information, hang up the phone, they'll go out and book a truck, and then they'll call back only to find out that the load has been covered. You know, and that sucks because then they have to go back and cancel with the carrier. This guts comes from your ability to take the freight the first time you call. So, when you see a load posted, call the transportation manager, ask them about it, and tell them right then and there whether or not you're going to take that freight from them. And that is a little bit gutsy because what if you don't have a truck? And the trick to it is really to know what the lanes are worth, and again, know where trucks are. And a lot of this is really going to come with experience, guys, so be patient in the beginning. And I would seriously suggest that you use a rate matrix to aid you. DAT has a very reputable rate matrix. There's a lot of people that post in it, so the rates are a little bit more accurate. If you are really serious about increasing your sales as a freight broker or freight agent, consider the training course at Logistics Academy. It's really known for students where to find a surplus of freight using those industrial search engines and lots of other resources. And they're not just going to give you the information as to, where to go. They're going to show you how to use those search engines as well. They really go in depth on how to make customers and carriers both dependent on you and your brokerage. And a lot of that is through the training that they go through as they work on your interpersonal sales skills. And what they'll actually do is equip you with 12 really powerful closing strategies that are easy to use, and they'll walk you through making a sale as a whole. And the sale can be anything from getting a new customer, to getting a load, to booking a truck. And they're also going to show you a whole bunch of different markets, whether it's specialized equipment, seasonal commodities. They're going to go in depth as to how to get into these markets and really how to become a knowledgeable resource and an asset to other people in them. And then, of course, there is the infamous cold calling crash course.